Hello and welcome to Talk to Nishant Season 2 Episode 1. I am Nishant, he's Puneet.
Hey.
Today we are going to discuss who wants to become a literary genius. If you want to become a literary genius, please continue watching, and if you do not, you are at the right place. Thank you. Now we are going to begin with a small piece from On Writing Well, a best-selling book by William Zinsser. William Zinsser is trying to narrate a story wherein he was invited to a radio station for an interview. The interviewer posed him very interesting questions. Let's go through it. The appointed evening arrived and my phone rang, and the host came on and greeted me with the strenuous joviality of his trade. He said he had 3 lovely ladies in the studio with him, and he was eager to find out what we all thought of the present state of literature and what advice we had for all his listeners who were members of the literati and had literary ambitions themselves.
I like that word, literati.
This hearty introduction dropped like a stone in our midst, and none of the 3 lovely ladies said anything, which I thought was the proper response. The silence lengthened, and finally I said, I think we should banish all further mentions of the words literature and literary and literati. I knew that the host had been briefed about what kind of writers we were and what we wanted to discuss, but he had no other frame of reference. Tell me, he said, what insights do all of you have about the literary experience in America today? Silence also greeted this question. Finally, I said, we are here to talk about the craft of writing.
Okay.
He didn't know what to make of that, and he began to invoke the names of authors like Ernest Hemingway and Saul Bellow and William Stratton, whom we surely regarded as literary giants, but they were not our models. But don't you want to write anything literary? Our host said. The 3 women said they felt they were already doing satisfying work. That brought the program to another halt, and the host began to accept phone calls from his listeners, all of whom were interested in the craft of writing and wanted to know how we went about it. And yet, in the stillness of the night, the host said to several callers, don't you ever dream of writing the great American novel? They didn't. They had no such dreams in the stillness of the night or at any other time. It was one of the all-time lousy radio talk shows. Okay, so the reason I read this is a common misconception which would-be writers have is they assume writing means writing a bestseller. Writing means like creating a literary, giving man birth to pushing a fucking literary child out from your ass. That's what these people think writing is. And the same set of people approach me in their text messages asking me, HW, how are you? Question mark. No, there is no punctuation. Obviously there would be no question mark. How are you? Can you HLP M?
And what does that mean?
How are you? Can you help me?
Oh.
Okay, so I'm like at a loss of words. People need to understand, and especially if you consider yourself a writer, considering yourself something doesn't mean it's wrong, but obviously it doesn't define you. If you were a writer, you won't consider yourself a writer. But nonetheless, you start not by writing a book. You start not by writing a blog. You start not by thinking of a bestseller. You start with writing one line.
Of course.
One perfect line. Every sentence you would ever write in your life, be it text message, be it email, even your verbal communication should be articulated. Your thoughts cannot go in waste. This is a hard-hitting fact which writers need to understand. If anyone is under the illusion that they would write one blog and that would go viral, they would write one book. First of all, no one is able to finish books. Like, if 100 writers decide to finish a book, I guess 3 out of them 3 are able to. That's the ratio.
And that must be their third or fourth time. Then they must be thinking,
Totally.
I will finish this book this time.
Totally.
And somehow they just managed to do it.
Yeah.
It's like, there's... the problem is, when we think of something, when we plan a thing, when we aim for something, we see a bigger picture, the broader image. What we forget that what will take us to there is everyday practice or the work you put in. How willing are you to give, how much time are you investing in your ambition or passion which you want to achieve, a goal which you want to achieve, how much time you are investing in it. And that should not be on a irregular basis. You have to be very much consistent. I think, as you know, whoever has achieved whatever, even a single thing in life, all they say is you need to do it every day.
Exactly.
You just cannot get bored of doing it every day.
There's nothing called a writer's block.
There is nothing called a writer's block. There is nothing called that. The thing is, when you are not writing every day, you sit on a chair and then you think of something, or there must be an idea or thought that must be continuously gripping your mind, and then you start writing something and you write 2 lines, 3 lines, and then you stop. And then you think for an hour or maybe 30 minutes or 25 minutes,
You
whatever
need to clear
capacity.
your head, motherfucker.
And then you leave it.
Clear your head.
Basically, you leave it. You don't complete it. Then you pick that same piece after a week. Now, what practice will do, it will prepare you to write any day, any time, whenever you want.
At your will.
Which is important. And the day you will be able to do that from that day, and your destination or whatever goal you have or whatever you call it, that distance won't be far enough. So basically it's the first few steps that you have to, clear to reach there.
Writing is a craft. It's a skill. Like any other skill, the number of hours you will put in, the amount of dedication you will shower it with, that's the amount of result you would get. If you think you are a writer, or if you are a writer, then obviously you need to write daily. You write journals, you write blogs, you write short stories, you write poems, but write daily. Sit down at your workstation at least for 2 hours and write. Create something. It doesn't have to be good, it doesn't have to be bad, it doesn't have to be anything. Just sit there. The first thing you gotta do is sit and write one perfect sentence. There is an order to words. When you arrange words in the right order, they would become a good sentence. A perfect sentence. You need to create a perfect sentence. Each sentence needs to be perfect. How would you do that? By stopping writing incorrect text messages. By not listening to, stupid podcast and Hindi baseless party songs. At least listen to rock, listen to poetry. You need to surround yourself with the resources which would help you grow as a writer.
Of course, it's very much important. And above that, it's how you practice that also comes. Of course, you have to write every day. But how much you are learning from yesterday is important. So, you can do one thing, you can look back at something you have written like a year ago or maybe before that, and evaluate it with your present day writing. Okay, you will, if you are honest to your work, you will see a drastic change in your writing, in all the structuring,
Exactly.
in the sentence, in the words you use, how you make sentences, where you, messages is, whether messaging is clear or not. You will get all. You don't need to go anywhere. All you need to do is evaluate yourself, evaluate your writing, build a small community. I would say, a couple of friends, 1 or 2, whom you can send your pieces of writing, and
publish
they can
on Medium.
But in a, I mean,
find the right set of people
at a small level,
and make sure that you value their opinion. I have seen people, they would ask for feedback. When you give them an honest feedback, they're like, okay,
they'll get offended. How dare you call my writing a
we
piece of
all are shitty writers, and that's the point. And the tip of the day is rewrite. Rewriting is the key. Any given day, if you have nothing to do, if you have time to watch Netflix, pick anything you wrote 1 year ago, rewrite, make it perfect. Once again, you write one sentence. You do not write a book. You do not give man birth to literary babies on papers. None of that shit ever happens. You write one word, one sentence at a time.
I would like to elaborate this thing. By giving my personal example. It was like 3 years ago. I want, just like any aspiring writer, I wanted to write a book. Best-selling novel.
Yeah, the best-selling.
I had the structure in my mind. Okay, I told my friends that I'm going to write this book, and within 6 months, I will get all those things that I want from my life. There will be cars, there will be a bungalow, and I will get everything, man. Whatever you can think of by just writing one book. I won't call it overconfident.
And you were not even writing a book, you were writing a bestseller.
Okay, and at that time I was not writing every day.
Yeah.
So, I told them everything. I put myself in isolation. And I started writing. The first 3 days, 4 days, it went perfect. I was writing with full enthusiasm, and I was like, okay, this time, the moment I will step out of this room, I will have the manuscript in my hand. Okay, there will be a publisher at the door waiting for me. That this man, whenever he gets his work done, I will publish it. And with an advance check.
Publishers are lined up to publish our stuff.
With an advance check as well.
Yeah.
Now,
checks are important.
Checks are important. We want to earn money. It's our mutual belief. Money is our mutual belief.
I want to shoot the fucker who has sold this false dream.
So, it's been 3 years. Though I have completed that first draft, but I didn't touch that. I never sat and tried to edit that manuscript.
We should burn our first books.
Exactly.
If you really want to write a book and then burn it.
Because that is your warm-up. You see cricketers going for series.
That's purge. You have purged everything.
Going for series, and they do net practices. Okay,
Yeah.
there is a time of 10 days, 5 days, 15 days. In writing, you do everyday net sessions, and those net sessions is what makes you a perfect player.
Exactly.
And whoever has achieved it or written anything that's recognized by millions and masses, they have gone through this process. There is no shortcut.
And one last thing which I would like to add: do not attempt writing with a purpose.
This is very much important.
People sit down and people think they have a purpose when they are writing. Your writing should be meaningless all the time until the words itself start reflecting meaning. That's when you become a writer. So, okay, this is an answer to anyone who thinks, am I a writer? If you sit down writing in a meaningless manner, and finally after days, months, weeks, years, whenever your meaningless flow becomes tangible, it has a meaning, it has a fluency, it has a rhythm, that's when you graduate as a writer. Till then you are a student. Just write every day. Write every fucking day, you will reach there. Put in 10,000 hours as Malcolm
Whatever you do,
says.
you have to do it every day. You have to train your brain to, accommodate to that new idea, that new thought, and that new practice which you are doing every day. You will have to train your brain. There is no other way.
Oh, great. It was a lovely talk. Thank you for listening. And please go be the next literary genius. We are waiting.